It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'm your host today. I'm your host every day, aren't I? We're going to talk about a couple of issues today that are of grave importance that you need to be aware of and educated about in order to facilitate the issues around us and be situationally aware. Our first topic is going to be Obamacare and how the news is out that they are actually using credit scores that will impact your premiums. Now, for the record, most Americans don't realize it, but credit scores have been used by insurance companies for many years in many states. And I'm not sure what state you're listening from, but in my home state, your credit report score defines, in many cases, your insurance premium. Now, the argument that the insurance companies make is we don't want deadbeat insurers on our policies because they can start a policy and then stop a policy because they can't afford it. The real argument here is that this is a giveaway to insurance companies by the government and Congress, because when insurance premiums are predicated and calculated based partly on your credit report, the assumption is that your credit defines whether you're a good risk or a bad risk for that issue. And in this case, just because you have bad credit, as so many in America now do as a result of the past 5 or 6 years of depression, you notice I don't use the word recession. As a result of the past 5 years, many Americans now have credit that is not as exemplary as it may once have been. And what that will do is it will increase premiums because your creditworthiness is not up to par or up to the par of what the insurance companies would like. This will lead to even higher premiums for those with poor credit ratings. Here's the problem. It's a self-defeating concept because by Congress giving insurers the right to define your premium based on your credit report, they will actually increase the cost for those who are least equipped to handle the premium increase. To make matters even worse, in those cases where the government itself will be paying a portion via some sort of subsidy, it will actually raise the cost for taxpayers. So this is just another nice giveaway to insurance companies funded by you, by your friends in Congress. We're going to talk about it. I'm very unhappy about it, and I think most Americans don't even realize this is done. And I want you to be aware of the fact that it's done because it's one more strike, as if we needed any more, against the Obamacare issue. You see, well, okay. I'll get into it in a minute. The next topic we're going to talk about is also in relation to Obamacare, and we're going to talk about something which we addressed yesterday, but I'm going to give you more clarification on. And that is the fact that now Maryland has announced that they are that in their privacy and security policy on their website, where they are doing their own state exchange or marketplace as they call it, that your personal information, which is submitted in the applications, can be used for, quote, and hear me out, folks, get a hold of this, law enforcement and audit activities. Boom. I'm telling you, and I've been telling you, and I will continue to tell you, that Obamacare is not about health care. It is about collecting, building, and developing dossiers on every American so that information can be incorporated in along with everything else that the NSA has been gathering about you, all other law enforcement agencies have been gathering about you, and it can later on be used to, in the words of Cass Sunstein, nudge you in one direction or another. In other words, everything in your file, when looked at out of context, can be taken to be something else. And all you need is a knock on the door or a phone call or be summoned into a meeting with someone in the Maryland or the healthcare organization who says, hey, we found something here in your application that smacks of perjury. And so either you do this or we'll prosecute you. And if you don't think the federal government and state governments operate that way, you're a damn fool. They operate based on the principle of threats and coercion. That's why they are gangsters. I'm speaking from personal experience. And when I failed and refused to capitulate, I was punished severely. I'm telling you what this is about. This is exactly what this system is about. Gathering information to later on be used for law enforcement and audit activities. And the way these guys write laws and the convoluted way that laws are twisted, I'm telling you, this can easily be manipulated into the ability for them to forfeit your personal property and possessions. Forfeiture laws in the United States don't even require you to be charged for your assets to be forfeited. Your home, your vehicles, your businesses. All they have to do is accuse you. They don't even have to charge you. And then it's up to you to fight that forfeiture in court. So there are civil and criminal implications associated with this. And the audit activity will be along the lines of, well, you misled us here. So what we're going to do is we're going to institute this fine. And the fine is $25,000. And if you pay the fine, we're not going to prosecute. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that's what this is about. All right. Our third segment is the announcement today that Harry Reid, and it's very interesting the way in which they're doing this, he's announced the new figure that he wants to apply for the debt. Guess what? It's $1.1 trillion. That's what he's asking for in the new debt limit. He wants to increase federal borrowing by $1.1 trillion. The purpose of that, and he wants to push the legislation debt limit out until December 31st of 2014. Why is that? Because that's after the 2014 elections, and they need breathing room. Now, I've got to tell you, if the House falls for this and capitulates to this, we're done. This is the real missing piece of the puzzle, and the picture is emerging. Normally, the president is the one who introduces a new debt limit number. It's never left to Congress. But Obama is passing off that dubious honor to Harry Reid to protect his legacy, and they want to now borrow enough to get them past the 2014 elections. I got to tell you, folks, if they get away with this, if the House capitulates, if they fail, if they are unsuccessful in blocking this and that amount of money and withholding the debt limit until after the 2014 elections, we will not be able to wait for the 2014 elections. So I want you to do yourself and everyone a favor. You get your hold of your House representative and your senatorial representatives, and you make it clear that, one, we will not be held hostage by this president, and that's his word, not mine. Two, that there is no way that the debt limit can be increased by $1.1 trillion. And three, that there is absolutely no way possible on this green earth that they can get that debt limit expanded or extended beyond the election date of 2014. I'm telling you, people, we are in a constitutional, national crisis. And it's a crisis of manufacture. It's not real, but it is a crisis nonetheless. And they're using that word. And you got to remember the warning of James Madison. Crisis is the rallying cry of the tyrant. Crisis is the rally cry of tyrants. Do you remember Rahm Emanuel? Never let a perfectly good crisis go to waste. Okay. Our fourth segment is going to be Yellen has been announced as the new chairman of the Fed. And I've posted an article up on our Facebook page and up on our website, and I'm going to give it to you before we leave because I want you to read this. This is an important article for each of you to read. If you don't understand the issues of economics and central banking and who the players are that are involved, you should, because it does affect you. You know, the argument from most people is, I don't pay attention to politics and I don't pay attention to all that stuff. That's just, there's other people that'll figure it out. I'll let somebody else worry about it. And the problem is that leaves you prey because you have failed to be situationally aware. Prey as in P-R-E-Y. Here's the problem, and this is an important article. I want you to read it. Yellen, Janet Yellen, she is the one who's being put up to take over the Fed. And she believes that our unemployment is not structural, but that it's cyclical. In other words, I'll get into defining that later on in that segment. Here's the problem. The real rate of unemployment is not, 7.5%. Realistically, it's 18, maybe even 20%. And the gauge that they use to create the inflation rates are false because the measurements that they use do not take into account two primary aspects of the economy that affect everyone except them: the cost of energy and the cost of food. Those are the two highest actual costs that the serfs and the consumers in the nation deal with every day. So their decisions are completely predicated upon false truth. This is a disaster for America. And it goes to further the plan of Obama to gut and destroy the United States, providing for his quote-unquote fundamental change. And this is one more piece in the puzzle. The picture, ladies and gentlemen, is emerging. All right. There's one other thing you should be aware of, and I don't want to take too much time on this, but I do want to bring it out. They're talking about this raid that occurred over in Somalia, and the truth of the matter is that this raid was based on poor information, and so the real issue here with this raid is that. And, something's going on with Facebook here because that particular story has been removed. I'm not surprised, but it has been removed. So I will go to my other website where they can't remove stuff because it's americasvoicenow.org, and they can't take stuff off that website, at least unless the NSA does it. The imperfect intelligence of the raid on Somalia. This is an article in the New York Times. And I think it's important that you understand this, and go to americasvoicenow.org. And if you scroll down, there's the latest news from AVN. And one or two of the stories down, you'll see imperfect intelligence said to hinder U.S. raid on militants in Somalia. Putting aside everything else in this story, which is an analysis of how it failed and why it failed, the critical thinkers who are out there in the audience are going to note that the headline says it all. And here's why. Our NSA, our military, our Department of Defense, and our Pentagon are so wrapped up in wasteful projects like laundering money and the black ops that are being executed against American citizens, and these other self-defeating strategies that take their focus away, that they've lost sight of their main duty. Just like the federal government, these organizations, which are part of the federal government, are so fat and cumbersome that they haven't focused on the main job of defending the nation. That is their goal. To gather real intelligence on real terrorists, not perceived patriotic Americans who are unhappy with what's going on in our nation. Imagine if they used the hundreds of billions of dollars that this government has spent trying to build intelligence dossiers on patriotic Americans and instead utilized that money to fight real terrorism. What they actually have done is they have failed to exercise and build the most basic function of intelligence. Human intelligence. That's boots on the ground who act surreptitiously to gather information from real people. The resources for that have been diverted, and because they rely now upon electronic and signal intelligence and monitoring against an enemy that actually still delivers their orders by courier. I don't care how good your signal intelligence is, you cannot read a piece of paper handed from Muhammad to Ali. What this tells us is this. This administration has turned our military, our intelligence, our defense, and our fighting forces of the United States into a bootlicking group of sycophants who will do the will of the dictator-in-chief over their primary duty to this nation. Those who will not toe his line have been summarily removed from duty, dismissed, retired, or otherwise evicted from the military and the intelligence communities. What's left is a gaggle of putrid and pathetic mewling kittens who seek to please their master over their sworn duty to defend this nation from both foreign and, more importantly, domestic threats, including those that stem from D.C. itself. Get a hold of this article by going to our website. It's on the New York Times, and it's an important article that you really need to read. I don't want you to read it in the sense that, because it's got important background on what happened in that raid in Somalia and why our SEALs were turned away. But I got to tell you something. They are using this as the Somalians and the Al-Shabaab are using this as a recruiting tool, saying, "Hey, we beat those Navy SEALs. These are the guys they got video games of." Ladies and gentlemen, this is where a nation turns on itself. And here's the proof. You have to read it with a critically thinking mind, because the New York Times is certainly no friend of the conservative movement, the patriots in the nation. And I hate that word conservative because I don't want to tie myself to scumbags like John McCain. He does want to conserve what we have now, which is a complete and utter disaster. All right. I'm going to tackle this first issue, which is the credit score issue, and I've only got a couple of minutes left to do it. But what I want you to understand is this. The people that are signing up for health care in Florida through the Affordable Care Act have been shocked to find that they have to give proof of the credit score that they have before they finish the process. Now, there's a woman there by the name of Ann Packham, and she's one of the people that's licensed by the state to help people navigate the government's website. I mean, isn't it absurd? If you actually need physical manipulation and help to navigate a website built by the government, clearly it's not done well. I build websites for a living. If you're streaming this on our website, you can find that link by simply going to airbridgeweb.com. Now, what this is telling us is this, that if your credit is bad, your premiums will be higher. And this is a self-defeating principle because those people who needed the insurance the most were those who were the unemployed and the bereft and the destitute and the poor in the nation. Well, of course they have the worst credit. So it's going to increase the premiums for them. Now, just taking that group alone, remember that those premiums are going to be subsidized by the taxpayer. So what that actually means is that those premiums are going to be raised. The insurance companies make the decision, not the government. The insurance premiums are determined by the insurance companies themselves. So they look at your credit, they look at your health history, they say, okay, this guy's got diabetes or whatever, he's going to have a bronze plan or a silver or a gold or a platinum or a BS plan or whatever the heck it is. They then look at your credit report and they say, well, this guy's a bad credit risk, and he's got diabetes, and he's got 4 kids. So, excuse me, drinking coffee there. So here's the problem. They then increase your premium, and here's the problem with that. Taxpayers are on the hook to pay the subsidized premium, or the subsidy on the premium, I should say. So your premium, let's assume for argument's sake that it goes to $1,000 a month from $700 a month because you got bad credit. That means the taxpayers are liable for the other $300 a month to cover that premium loss. The second issue is it presumes that just because you have bad credit, you're a bad health risk. Like the auto insurance business, I don't understand the concept of that. Because you can have bad credit and be a great driver. I haven't had an automobile accident in 20 some odd years. The truth of the matter is, you see, utilizing a low credit score to jack the premium isn't realistic. What it is it's a giveaway to the insurance companies because they have the strongest, the most well-funded lobbyists in the United States of America, beating the tar out of Congress and loading up their pockets with money. This is directly a payoff to insurance companies. Their argument is we don't want people on our plan who are going to default. If someone is defaulting on all of their bills, we may not want to have them as part of our health plan, says Packham. Participants with low credit scores could end up paying higher premiums, she admits. And she also says that ultimately the insurance company makes the call. Well, we get it. But the point is, somebody's making that money. And it's the insurance company. And just because you've got bad credit doesn't make you a bad health risk, and it doesn't make you a bad driving risk either. And quite frankly, it doesn't make you a bad credit risk if the government is footing the bill. The concept is just completely diametrically opposed to reality and logic and reason. If the taxpayers are going to foot the bill, then why is it that the low risk, that the low credit report premium gets raised, but the federal government is going to pay that via subsidy? So all they're really doing is artificially inflating the premium that the taxpayers have to pay, and the taxpayers are going to pick up the loss. It doesn't matter what the poor guy's credit report is because he's not paying the bill anyway. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most insane aspect of this project. We're going to take a break. I tell you, I'm so frustrated with what's going on in America today. I am so disappointed. I'm so disenchanted. I'm so frustrated. I know I'm not alone. I know there are many of you out there who realize how far down the rabbit hole we've gone here. But I got to tell you, this is insane. There is nothing about Obamacare that is right. Absolutely nothing. It is a dangerous program that is just, it's wrong on so many levels. I couldn't cover them if we had from now until midnight. All right, we're going to take a break. Find these stories on americasvoicenow.org. I posted them up on our Facebook page, but Facebook strips stuff away. They are definitely into censorship, and I know they pull stuff off my website all the time up there. So while it does allow a lot of stories, I posted this thing up there specifically, and it's been pulled. So I want you to go to our website at americasvoicenow.org. There they can't pull it unless they shut the whole site down, which someday will happen, I bet you. All right, you're listening to America's Voice Now. Find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org, facebook.com/America's Voice Now, and then youtube.com /America's Voice Now for this and every other program we stream live. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.